Welcome to the AAI Lightning Lecture Series. Nice to see you all here. Thanks for joining us. Today we are joined by Douglas Carson, teacher, practitioner and writer of Carson and Crushell Architects, former AAI award winners. And Douglas, thanks a million for joining us today.
Thanks, Orla, and thanks, Ronan, as well. And thanks to other people who've joined us this afternoon. So we're very pleased to share our latest new project that's come into our office. It's going to involve substantial works to a late 20th century suburban semi-D in South Dublin for a couple in their older years and also their adult daughter who lives with them. The existing house has kind of an underused front room, quite a dark dining area in the middle of the plan, kitchen area, and a west and north facing conservatory where they spend most of their time, and then a quite constrained entrance hall and staircase that's got a chairlift that brings them upstairs to a small bathroom, the master bedroom, the daughter's bedroom, and then a very small box room, and that's the front elevation there. So the works themselves are both to the ground floor and the first floor. On the ground floor, we're starting from the front garden. We're moving the car out onto the on-street car parking, replacing that with a ramp alongside a low wall that folds to form a morning bench in the morning sun. There's a large 1.8 meter squared 1.8 by 1.8 landing that leads through new power assisted sliding doors into an enlarged hall. All of the new doors and the windows as well will be sliders, and obviously the bigger doors power assisted for mobility reasons. The new bedroom, the master bedroom, is moved to that ground floor with an adjacent ensuite and walk-in shower, and then a kind of a kinked wall to that to make sure that we always have a 90 centimeter clearance through the house, and on occasion a kind of a turning circle, the 1.8 meter turning circle. So the hallway moves alongside the kitchen units and then the kitchen worktop itself into a new large room that is trying to fit within a golden section proportion, and that kind of traverses the existing back wall of the house here and moves into the footprint of where the conservatory was, but we've actually decided to pull back away from the conservatory foundation footprint to make the new wall that's got a fixed window and sliders that meet at the corner. So a sliding door here and a sliding door here that fold back over these walls and open out that room to a new external terrace. Also has that same proportion, that's partly covered and allows the couple to kind of sit out and enjoy the south sun beside a new glasshouse shed that we want to recycle the PVC conservatory from its dark position here into a kind of a sunnier position. And then in the garden itself, there's going to be like a garden structure that marches its way into the house to meet the existing nib wall and a new adjacent, more decorative pier. So part of the ambition was to make a room that wasn't too deep and that we wouldn't need roof lights to avoid that black hole effect in the ceiling and excessive glare, but also be comfortable in terms of ventilation purposes. So moving up those stairs, there's this is the domain of the daughter. At the top of the stairs is a new void that leads down above the kitchen to improve ventilation, but also communication between upstairs and downstairs. And then, because the daughter is also an artist, we wanted to make a very large, free living or studio space for her to either entertain or to do her work that could be subdivided through pocket sliders into this wall and this wall, so that guests could get access to a new bathroom, a morning facing bathroom, as well as a small sleeping area that also faces west. But this area here would get both evening and morning light, and this is a small void down into the the bathroom below to improve ventilation in the bathroom. You can see that the extension structure is slightly higher to improve ventilation, and that is broken from the existing first floor to avoid, but it extends at that higher level here to create a kind of a raised platform for study for the daughter. And in that section, you can see the play of windows, some of them in existing openings and some new ones, new window and a new door that slide behind the walls. And then that's the kitchen worktop there. The elevations are in some cases quite straightforward, and modest changes to the front elevation, and maybe slightly more extravagant changes to the back of a high fixed window and lower sliding windows. So some of the sketches, there's about 6 sketches here to show that kind of the progress sketches as we went along. This is a very early sketch showing that staircase moved and a large hall and sliders to that master bedroom and ensuite, and then a kind of early layout of notion of what that back room might look like. Again, early sketches showing a separation between the original back foundation line of the conservatory that would still be used to support an overhanging roof, and then a new back wall, including that fold where the vent to the kitchen would appear. And the other drawing, sorry, that I want to show you is an early sketch of that perspective sketch in that living area back out to the garden. Because of that popped up extension ceiling, we'd hoped that we could have a dropped ceiling that would align with the existing, and that would create kind of a more expressive decorative element of the ceiling. But as Rosaleen, my partner, pointed out, this curve maybe needs a bit more development, which is her polite way of saying don't do that. So instead, we're looking at a exposed timber, solid timber structure at a higher level, but still retaining kind of that the openings would be framed in timber, and there would be a strong dado, robust dado lining the lower area, and still that view out through a fixed window and an openable bit. But that timber structure itself, this is a kind of a product that we're using in a project down in Kerry, where there's a tongue and grooved solid piece of timber about 70 mil wide by 130 that's tongued into its neighbor. But what we found we can also do is we can also stack it vertically to make a balustrade, and also kind of cut it laterally to make a wall paneling that can be then fixed in the grooves of that system, so kind of have hidden fixings without too much precision required, and that gives this kind of what we call like a corduroy effect to the wall panel that's got kind of tactile and acoustic benefits. This is actually the sketch from that other project showing that balustrade and a wall paneling, and then a closer up detail of how both on the floor and in the balustrade and on the wall, it's the same material. So, you know, particularly with the domestic job, you're having an understanding of what the batch is, or what the delivery load is, or what a pallet amount is there's always a need to kind of figure out what you can do with the offcuts or the excess amount. So that's the ambition anyway with that detail. So as this was an early sketch, you can remember this developed to be more open when we realized it could maybe structurally released. And the second last sketch shows, you know, kind of a evolution of that corner, where there's a notion maybe through how it was drawn that this could be dissolved, and then another way of how it could be drawn that it didn't have a structural use. And this was just done on kind of pens and paper to hand. This is actually my son's homework, where he's using color and form to learn about maths, which is kind of a beautiful way to learn about maths. So the last sketch, which is actually the very first sketch that we did following the very first meeting, which is just a sketch of the back garden. It's more the kind of design of the garden almost came first with the client request for a water feature, where we're proposing a series of quite large reflective ponds raised up so they can be within reach of our clients, but also that long section to the neighbor, the neighboring or the opposing semi-D, and the garden wall between that's west facing, that the evening sun could come over those roofs and come through those trees or under the tree canopy, but over the back wall and reflect off that water pond, so the clients could enjoy that at the end of the day. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Doug.
Stop sharing or?
No, that's fine. Do you want to show the model at all?
Sure, if that's time, or do we do it through questions or?
Yeah, no, you've made very good time. That was
okay.
It's very unexpected, I have to say. I think you're the first.
We can do that, and if it collapses, we can just go to questions then. How about that? Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
If anyone wants to put a question into the chat, or you might be able to unmute yourselves, that's absolutely fine. But I might ask a question. I think it's really interesting to see a project at this stage be presented like that. I suppose a lot of us sit where you were sitting when we engage with projects at this level, and it's really nice to see the different kinds of work products that you sort of went through there, the different levels of sketches and drawings before a project gets sort of manhandled into like a planning submission or a tender package.
Yeah.
You know, there's just an incredible variety of objects or bits of paper that get produced. And I don't know, maybe is that why you wanted to present something at this stage?
Yeah, it's almost like all of the work, like almost all of the bits of paper. You know, there are obviously overlays of the plans developed, but in terms of the variety of different sketches, it's almost all of it, because it's a very recent project. And I guess the variety, well, I guess the alternative, I suppose, isn't it that you would work very methodically and you would do all of the sketches in one sketchbook, and it would be the Moleskine sketchbook, and it would all be the same, you know. And that's fine, but there's the nature maybe of practice, and maybe practice with in our time, or practice with children, is you just have to do it whenever you can. And if you can't wait till you go upstairs and get the good sketchbook, you just have to do it when it occurs to you. So I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's I hope it's not like an affected thing or a deliberate thing.
I don't think, no, absolutely not.
And it's not, no, I'll do this on this one particular type of bit of paper.
Yeah. And in terms of your process, do you always start with those kind of more illustrative sketches in that way, that it's about an experience or, you know, a glimpse into the potential future life of the space rather than something else?
I think so. I mean, like this, again, to talk about like this sketch here, I'll creep it in. Like this is I mean, that's not even typical. I don't know if there's anything typical. I'm probably more likely to do a type of sketch I've never done before. So, you know, as well, it's not, I might be interested in, you know, I might see a type of sketch and think, or a type of drawing, whether it's like a planometric, and think, oh, I haven't done one of those in a while. I'll just see if that works. And so sometimes sometimes it doesn't, or sometimes it's not useful. So it's maybe there was a sense that we needed to get to grasp quicker with the very particular requirements of the clients in terms of mobility problems and, you know, and comfort issues that the current house creates for them. So maybe that steered me towards doing those sort of drawings earlier, maybe.
Emma has a question for you. Emma, I can unmute you if you want, or would you prefer to?
I don't mind. Hi, Emma.
Hi, Emma, are you there?
Hi, Emma. Hi, how's it going?
I just want to say I loved, I know the mobility is a big issue, but also, get my lunch dish up here. I loved how, did you have to do a lot of research into this? Because my father did this with our house at home for a sibling. Yeah. And I love how you created, it's the psychological threshold of the adult child going up the stairs, and this is their living space while it's also one. And I just thought you did it so cleverly, because yours is the equivalent of somebody going up to the steps to the work shed, and you need that separation. I just wondered, did you do a lot of research? And if you did, where did you come across?
Yeah. Thanks, Emma. Well, that particular plan, I can't take like total credit for it. This is the first floor plan. I'll just creep it in there. That first floor plan is this is, I mean, one of the amazing things about our times. I went to there was a DOCOMOMO lecture online about Geert Rietveld, done by a man called Philip Boyce, about a month and a half or 2 months ago, and he showed a Rietveld plan. Rietveld did the Schroeder House famously with the sliding doors. But he actually showed another plan that was of Rietveld's own home that was at the top floor of an urban building that he designed. I think it was a cinema, and it had this similar plan of a very, very free, open living space, and then not just the services, but all of the kind of the fixed furniture to the edges, you know, and as well as the staircase, and as well as the, you know, the bathroom and the office. But even those quite small cubby holes for his kids, and 4 kids, and so he himself and his wife slept on one side and the kids slept on the other, and they just met in the middle of this big plan. So I guess that was the research, you know, watching that DOCOMOMO lecture. And then I suppose in terms of the aspect of mobility, I mean, there's a lot more detail that we need to go into and develop in terms of particularly the bathroom, in terms of how that's going to be done. And we're not yet at that stage. And the Irish Wheelchair Association's guidance documents are, you know, obviously there's the technical guidance documents, the building regulations about Part M, but the Irish Wheelchair Association's document, it's in its actually 4th edition, brought out last week, is a really, just graphically, it's really strong. It communicates really well what you should be doing, or what you could be doing by way of dimensions and provision in to improve houses. So that's, yeah, the IWA, the Irish Wheelchair Association, that's but again, we have to get even more into that in terms of the detail of a lot of the spaces.
Great, thanks for that.
Thanks, Emma.
Great. Does anyone else have any questions? We normally ask people who else is on their team as part of the series, and I think more specifically, I think obviously because we all know that your partner, Rosalie, how you work together at this stage of a project, or you know, how it's divided up. For this particular project, I mean, I'm the client point of contact, and I surveyed the house, and I've drawn all of the CAD, and I've made this model myself. So I don't have an intern to credit for this work. It's all like mine. And now, saying that, of course, there's like this essential daily dialogue that needs to go on, where I would maybe propose an idea to a sketch, and there's a you know, a dialogue about where I'm told don't do that, you know, or told change that. Or, so that's like, it's not so much a collaboration, or it's not so much like an equal division of the design or time, but it's like it's essential that we have this dialogue or conversation, even though in our own kind of, we are kind of isolated, you know, in our own little studio, and that works quite well, I think. But between ourselves, we do have to have that continuous dialogue. So, but that's it. Yeah, at the moment it's just the two of us. Brilliant. So I suppose it kind of depends on the project.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And unless anyone has any other questions, I'll just see. I know everyone is muted, so maybe put your hand up in the chat if there's anything specific. And if not, I'll ask you about the forthcoming year and what you think the challenges or your hopes are for the immediate future.
Challenges, hopes. Well, I mean, if we were able to keep on doing stuff like this, not just next year, but for the rest of our lives, that I'd be perfectly happy. You know, it's kind of fulfilling work, and it's kind of challenging, and it feels like we're useful, you know, and we enjoy it. So there's that aspect of it. We don't mind if it kind of continues as it is, and then we're kind of concerned that things might return to normal. That's a very, in some ways, a concern, both in work and in and other parts of our life, like in teaching, to me that would be like the real lockdown, if stuff returned fully back to normal the way it was before. I think that would be now seems like a really positive time for reflection in lots of different spheres of life. So that would be a concern, but it'd be great to return back to site visits with the AAI. That's like, that would be great if we could do some of those next year, if I can put that request in. That's obviously very difficult now, but we're gonna have to do it in some form and we need and want to do it in some form with our students to go on site visits. But obviously it's probably not going to be mass groups of students, as it won't be mass groups of students as it was in the past, but it will be in kind of smaller groups, which itself will be very positive. So
yeah, it'll just be a different way of doing things. Dermot Kelly has a question. Was the timber system a budget move?
Well, for the let's say I don't know if it's for the previous job or for this one, we haven't got it fully budgeted yet, so because it's kind of at the early stage. I think actually there's a good answer to your question, which is that there's another client requirement which is about speed, because it has to be done really quickly, the job, because they're going to have to move out for a bit, but it doesn't suit them to move out for very long. Hi, Dermot. So no, so they would be willing to pay a premium for speed, in the construction, and but as well, that kind of also ties into the the speed of skimming a room and painting it and all that kind of stuff. So we're hoping that there won't be any internal wet trades in the house.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
And do you like it? Does it look good?
The stuff, yeah. Well, we'll post. There's some pictures we put of the one in Kerry, the job in Kerry. This kind of one, that affair, that stuff. So we put a few pictures of that on Instagram, and it's really cool. It's kind of, we didn't know quite what to expect, because it's not it's not supposed to be seen. The tongues, the tongues of the tongue and groove aren't really designed to be seen, and you have to be careful about kind of, but there's not, even then there doesn't seem to be any issues with splinters or anything, because it's actually still quite well finished, and it's got a kind of an obvious deep grain to it because of the shadows, but then that overlaid with the grain of the timber, and sometimes the black knots fold into the grooves, which is really interesting. So it's yeah, it seems to work, and it seems to work structurally as well. Obviously, it needs kind of fireproofing, and for certain, it's not, even with the 75 mil, it's not good enough to be fire resistant for instance, for office use. You'd have to put ply on top of it, unfortunately. But for domestic, it'll be fine.
Cheers. I'll check out on Instagram.
Thanks, Dermot. Anybody else? We're making very good time, really.
No.
No. Well, I think we've asked all our questions. Doug, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about your practice or anything else.
No, that's it. It's been a pleasure, Orla and Ronan. So thanks for hosting it, and yeah, that's it. I'm looking forward to more AI things next year.
Yeah.
Said the site visits would be great. So yeah.
Be good. Okay, well, thanks a million, everyone, for joining us. We'll probably leave it there, and hopefully see you all at the same time next week.